outside of not having a web page at all, which is, like it is not a philosophical question. It is not like what is the sound of one hand clapping. The what is a business that does not have a website does have an answer. It is out of business because we just don't allow that to happen anymore. So outside of just having a presence on the web, whatever that might be, the very first thing that people notice is images. Our brains rely on images to give us kind of this big, wide meta idea of what's happening. So when we go to rockvalleycollege.edu, we rely on, images of students, images of the library, images of our logo, to give us an idea of what is happening on that page. Now, we do this on every page. If you are looking for, coffee someplace, I want to see high quality images of coffee or coffee beans or things of that nature because I want to be able to associate delicious coffee with your coffee shop. If I am looking for French fries someplace, I'm hungry. I'm going to want to find delicious pictures of your French fries when I look at your website in order to entice me to come there. So images are super important, and we can rely on tags to display them. So right here, I'm just going to click on line 13 and hit tab 2 times so that everything is nice and lined up in there. What we are looking for is image. Now, we need a source for image. Otherwise, we won't be able to locate that. Now, there's a couple of different ways to do that. First and foremost, we could download images, and from your desktop, you could simply drag that image over here into the left-hand window. And once you've put it over there, it is associated with this particular web page. That's great. You don't have to do that because we're on the web, because images are on the web. We can actually just grab and point to an image from out here, in the great wild worldwide web. So you'll notice when I clicked on the SRC, the Replit automatically gave me the opening and closing quotations, either the name of the file or the full address. So the URL to where that image file is located has to go inside of there. So I'm going to add the closing tag here, and then I'm going to allow that to be closed off from there. One thing I'll mention, because I did mention it previously, image is actually one of the 3 things that do not require a closing tag. It is simply displayed and then not displayed. So there is no closing tag for image. So I need an image, and I mentioned Rock Valley College. So we need a copy of our logo so we can find one from any of these here. So I just went to Google. I went to Google image search. I went for Rock Valley College logo, and here we are. One thing I will mention here is the images that you see with a white background like this. So the very top left-hand corner one, those actually do have white backgrounds. Not all of your pages are going to have white backgrounds. That might be distracting. Images like we see here with that slight checkerboarding in the background, that is an indication that this image has no background color. So that image will look proper on a web page that has a black background, a white background, a silver background. It doesn't really matter. So we can elect to use any of these. They're all fine and good. I am going to get this one, our athletics logo. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And then over here on for me, it's my right-hand side. You can see if I hover over the image, it tells you how big it is, 344 pixels by 156. That means it's longer than it is wide. That's perfectly okay. If I right-click on it and say copy image address. So now when we go back to our web page, I'm going to paste that in here where we had our image source. And if we go ahead and run it this time, now we finally get our image that we wanted for here in our web page. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just say Control Z. I'm going to get rid of this line because that was a much longer, larger link than I was hoping to find. When you go through and copy the address, sometimes you'll find that they are exceptionally long. Sometimes you'll find that they are not that bad. It really does depend on how the image was uploaded. So at any rate, I'm going to run this again, and we're going to see our very, very large Rock Valley College logo, and that you can see right here on lines 13 through 16. However, we don't have to just allow the logo to be as big as, it's going to display. We actually have control over that, and what we can do is add inside of our source tag, we can add a height and a width property. So height is a property, width is a property, and it's height equals, and then inside of the quotation marks, you would put a value, and a width equals, and inside of the quotation marks, you would put a value. So I know, because I've been doing this for a while, I can use my calibrated eyeball and say, I would like for this to be 300 pixels by 300 pixels. And here is my Rock Valley College logo, the same one used again, but now its height and its width are constrained into a box of a size that I say. We can also do this not with pixels, so 300 and 300. We can do this with percent. So I'm going to say 15% for both of them, height and width, and we're going to go ahead and run that again. And here we go, you can see that it's even smaller. This time, however, it's taking up 15% of the size of this. It's called our viewport. I think this percent is much more flexible, because if 15% is too big, or yeah, let's make it too big, I can change this to 10% and 10. And if we do it again, look how much smaller that is. Here's the cool part. As I make this bigger, you can see that that Rock Valley College logo is getting bigger, whereas the upper logo that's constrained by pixels is not getting bigger. And as it gets smaller, you can see that that Rock Valley College logo is getting smaller, whereas the first example we had doesn't have that percent associated with it. And now it's way off the page there, and it's, not displaying properly. So height and width, I actually suggest that we can do this with a percent value. And over time, you will start to calibrate your eyeball for, I want this to be a little bit smaller. I want this to be a little bit bigger. If we want it to be a third of the available space that we have there in our page, I'm just going to go ahead and run. And there it is, much bigger. And you can look at that and go, okay, yeah, look at 1, 2, 3. 3 of those would fit across my viewport. So images outside of, is my URL really alive? Is it here? Images are the first thing that your audience is going to notice, and you have a lot of control over how big that image is with just height and width.